got blood running down my face. Leon comes to the corner and I go like this. And I give him my hand to shoot me into the ropes, and I went. I was so mad at myself. Like, that was such a stupid thing to do because you got people in the palm of your hand.
I remember that match.
The result, the reaction I was always looking for was, to be that. Someone's supposed to be here, not here. They might have got lost. You want to check on it? Oh, okay. I knew what I liked, and I tried to bring to life a hybrid of two very different styles. Bruiser Brody, who I thought was the greatest brawler I'd ever seen, and Dynamite Kid, who's on my Mount Rushmore of wrestlers, who was like one of the toughest, meanest, greatest technical and flying wrestlers you've ever seen. And I knew I couldn't brawl like Brody. I just didn't have the, physical presence to do that. I knew I didn't have the athleticism of Dynamite Kid, but I was like, if I could blend those two things, if I could blend them, then we could find a way to, maybe create something special. And I was just telling a friend of mine, when I was watching some of the stuff I did with Leon, and then it was like I said, very unusual for me to be watching my own stuff, watching some of the crazy stuff I did in Japan. And they said to me, like, one of the Japanese photographers who was a fan of mine, he was like, and I'm not denigrating Japanese people because they speak better English than I do Japanese, but I did. If you're talking about a way to stand out, to this day I can say, Gota-san. Gota-san. Wow. Keiga suru mareni, takama ni nare, skeri yorozo. And the crowd go, whoa. What that means, look, I know you're having problems, come over to my side, I can help you. It's the only Japanese I ever learned, okay?
But it worked.
But nobody knew that, right? And nobody knew, just like, read between the lines here. I worked on my Espanol really diligently so I could portray a legendary character in red and white, okay? A man I worked at. My daughter said, Dad, you're driving people crazy, because I would go up to everybody, in Disney World that had a name tag that said Ecuador. And I would say, am I saying this right? And I would like say, let me see, now I'm going to choke because I can't say it, ¿Qué vas a querer esta Navidad? What would you like for Christmas? ¿Cómo te portaste este año? And it's, so again, I know, and you're like, wait, you bring Mick Foley here and he's telling you what he says for chili, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. So it's like, ¿Cómo te portaste este año? And then no matter what they say, and they're always going to say bien, I go, bien, muy bien. So I'm making the very most I can out of 5 sentences that I learned. It took me 3 weeks to learn. But every person, just like every city we went to in Japan, walked away thinking, that guy speaks good English, good Japanese. And every family that I met was like, Santa speaks some good Spanish, right? But I was just making the most out of the hand I was dealt. But going back to the Japanese guy, I was like, God, Japan likes big or fast, like you in the middle. Basically saying I didn't have anything that they were looking for that would make me successful in Japan. And by and large, he was right. They liked the monster heels, they liked the guys who could fly, the guys who could be amazing athletes, and I was neither. And so I wasn't actually, it was 2001 when I saw myself in an interview on the Today Show with Katie Couric. 2001. And I looked at the screen and I said out loud, I'm not a bad looking guy. But I had built into my own character so much. Had 8x10s printed up, Cactus Jack, world's ugliest wrestler. And then I worked on those facial expressions. So that I took a worse than average body, a colorful face with some expressions, and made people think that I was a monster. And it was like, the commitment to character, right? And there were times I took it too far, and there were times I was like, okay, maybe I didn't really need to hang on to something that would really make me angry in order to cut a promo on somebody. Maybe I could have acted like I was mad, but it was that commitment to character that made people look at guys like Ahmed Johnson, muscles rippling through his skin, and then he would stand side by side with me with my spindly arms and just like, there's this one photo where I'm like this, that Paul Bear is handing me the urn, and I'm like this. And I love that photo because doggone it, it looks like I've got a tricep there. But it was that commitment to character that made people look at Ahmed Johnson and be like, no, that's not the real deal. But that guy, that's the real deal. And I was just telling my friend about Bruiser Brody. If you're a heel, watch some Brody tapes. You know, I watched hundreds of hours of them. It's not what he did, it's when he did it and why he did it. And I said, if you put Bruiser Brody, he was a big guy, 6'6", you remember him, right, Jim? Bruiser Brody was very imposing physically. But you could find a bodybuilder, stand next to him, who was a lot more imposing, and 99 people out of 100 would go, that guy's gonna kill that bodybuilder. Because he didn't just talk the talk, he walked the walk, and he made everything he did look amazing. So going in 1986, I've been doing this a long time, I was having trouble with my punches. They didn't look good. So Brian Hildebrandt, who was one of the best friends I ever had, he ended up refereeing at Mark Curtis in WCW. He's like, watch these Brody and Funk matches. It's the best punches in the business, right? And so I'm watching and I could figure out Brody's punches because everybody in the business had long hair at that time and made things a lot easier. Before high-def cameras and short haircuts, the margin of error was so much less narrow, you know? As long as you got in there and that hair would fly, it was easy. Now, you know, it's the toughest thing, I think, is just the repetition of the stiff forearm that you kind of need in order to bring that stuff home. If I could make one suggestion to Mr. McMahon, and I know he's going to watch this video, let the guys grow their hair out, Vince. It's a lot easier for all of us. But I would look and I would say, all right, I can see how Brody does it. Not even really a punch so much as a big overhand chop. And you know, there is a world of difference between what we do in MMA, right? Primarily, in MMA, most of the power comes from here. The knockouts are like 6-inch knockouts, right? Mm-hmm. Boom, they get some torque there, like a midsection core, bam, and down he goes. Somebody throws a punch like that in professional wrestling, they're out of a job. Because we don't throw punches from here. Even though we're looking to create reality, we create our own reality. And a good wrestling punch doesn't come from here. Where does it come from? It comes from here. You'll never see an MMA guy, oh, he's going for the big right hand.
He'd be laughed out of the building.
Right, he'd be laughed out of the building. And so I wish there was a textbook formula. Apply equal parts, you know, 42% reality, 58%, you know, moves that you could never do, and then you've got yourselves a heck of a match.